What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Green Industry Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about how to be more productive. James Manske, welcome back to the show, man.
Appreciate it, Paul. I'm excited to talk about this topic today. It's something everybody can improve on, and a lot of people are struggling right now, especially with the spring.
Yeah, I felt like such a hypocrite. I was coming into the studio tonight, and I'm like, I could have had such more of a productive day today. And here we are. Our topic tonight is productivity. I was like, I don't even feel like I should be allowed on the interwebs tonight because there's so many times I have a big to-do list and I don't get enough traction on it. So I'm really excited to hear your perspective on this tonight.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everybody has the same amount of time in the day, right? We're the same as Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk. So why are they more productive than others? Or certain business owners can get more done in a day than others. So the biggest thing is figuring out what you're doing day to day in your business, on your business, and breaking that out as a percentage of your total work day, right? So if you're spending X amount of time or 40% of your time doing billing that you could be out selling or working on the business, you just need to decipher what that is. And when you find that out, I think that's when you need to start bringing on new team members. You need to start delegating more so you can focus on the bigger vision and not so much in the day-to-day weeds of running the business.
Yeah, totally. I was listening to Think Media podcast the other day, and they were talking, James, about IPAs, not the beverage, but income producing activities. And we, as the business owner, we have to be lasered in on those income producing activities and delegate out everything else, like you just said.
Yeah, I think everything is still a part of the bigger income producing, right? But if billing's not getting done, then you can't bring in the money and cash flow. If marketing's not getting done, you can't bring in new customers. If maintenance isn't getting done, then your machinery is going to be breaking down. So it's all part of the big picture. But a good friend of mine and a mentor told me a long time ago, because I was out in the field working from 7 until 5. And then from 5 until 10, I was doing billing and estimating and all of that stuff. And he said, well, what's your time worth? Like if you were to hire somebody for that position, even if you paid them 40 grand or $18 an hour, whatever it is, to take that off your plate, could you go out and create sales to cover that position? And it was scary to do because it was more than I was paying myself in the early days. And once I did it, I created enough sales to cover that position for the whole year in about a month.
Wow.
So once I just focused on doing what we were good at or what I was good at and letting somebody else come in and kind of take over those duties, responsibilities, not only did it free up some of my time, but then they bring in another perspective. They can do other tasks in the office. They can work on bill pay or estimates and all that stuff as well. So they can bring a different view to the company once you figure out what you're spending most of your time on that you can delegate out or hire out.
What's an example, James, of the first time you started delegating out? Like,
It was
what
probably
was
with
the
office.
actual task?
Yeah, it was mostly for office work. So for billing, payroll, just responding to voicemails, emails, all that stuff, that cleared out so much of my time that I can't imagine doing that any later. And I wish I would have done it many years sooner.
And then what's that training process? Because I know most people that are going to listen to this episode, one commonality we most probably have is we're micromanagers, typically, entrepreneurs, small business owners. We want it done our way or the right way, So how did you train these folks so that they weren't dropping the ball?
Yeah, it's a great question. In the beginning days, it was a lot of one-on-one, see what I'm doing, see what we're doing, kind of show training. Um, Now we're trying to build out all the processes, right? So then each process that we go through in the office or in sales and marketing, there's going to be processes built out. So this is overview. Here's how to log in. Then here's a document of how to add this or how to build this or how to add a customer. So you're trying to take what you do every single day and turn that into a process so that you don't have to constantly train and then train and then train and potentially miss something. So you're documenting all that data and then creating a blueprint for an onboarding process.
And then can you give us some more example, James, of you got the billing going, you got the payroll going. what did you start delegating as? Because now you have, approximately how many employees do you guys have now?
I think we're 47,
Okay, 47. So
give
a
or
lot of
take.
guys listening right now are, chucking the truck. They're just one solopreneur, and it's like 47. That seems so out there. But what are some other things that you started delegating, and tell us some more stories about that?
Yeah, so it just keeps snowballing down from there. So once all of that was off of my plate, then I looked at it again. I said, okay, where am I spending the most of my time? Is it managing the routes? Is it dealing with complaints? Is it marketing? Is it, you know, whatever that was? So it constantly changes because then I would spend more time in the early stages, it was like learning irrigation. And then once I built that up or we got enough clients, then I seeked out somebody to come in house and take care of all of irrigation. And then we just kept building that division. We would learn something else. It would take a lot of my time. Then we would bring somebody in house and start another division. So it slowly went from office manager to different divisions, which led into marketing, which led into landscape designer, which led into operations manager. So it just kept going into, okay, now where do I need help?
Mhm.
And if I would have done that even sooner, it would have progressed the company a lot further than it did right now. But I was just so into myself being able to do everything. And I wish I would have brought on more people sooner to help with that stress load, with that workload, and build that vision with them earlier on.
I got a lot of questions for you, James. This is so good. And guys, we're live on the YouTube. So shout outs to a friend of the show, Kyle Blesson, up there in New York. I think you've been on every live stream, Kyle. I appreciate your comments. If you guys have any questions about productivity, please drop them in the comments. I got a lot of questions to ask James here. 47 employees is very impressive. You mentioned office manager. At what point in your business did you get an office manager? What do they do? How does that work?
Sure, it can be different for everybody, right? So for me, it was when at least 30% of my day was spent working on office materials. So whether that be estimating, running people's credit card information, sending out bills, answering phone calls. Like I needed a dedicated person where they could answer the phone all day and not get distracted with the workload. That was the main focus. Like we had to have somebody just answer the phones right away so we didn't lose out on customers. Because if you don't answer the phone, if you don't get back to them right away, they're going to call the next company and sign up with them. So we saw that that was a very big component to building the company early on is we have to connect with people the moment they call, get them an estimate right away, and then sign them up and help with routing and all that stuff. So the first was just, more first point of contact as an office manager, but then also helping with the QuickBooks, helping with the routing. But we would always kind of delegate different things as they grew with the company until their workload got too big. And then they needed help with answering the phones. So we just played it based off of what they could handle in the day. And then whatever spare time there was always something that we could get help with or improve on, even just spreadsheets or documents and reports. I mean, there's always something in the business that could be helped out with by an office personnel.
How do you juggle, James? Because I know a lot of guys, I can feel it, sense it as they're listening. They're like, I'm wearing all the hats right now. I'm answering the phone. I'm actually cutting the grass. I'm doing everything. Literally, the solopreneurs are doing 100% of it. And then it becomes this mathematical game. Well, how do I afford to pay somebody to answer my phone? How do I afford somebody to do my marketing? How do I afford somebody to be my technician? How did you run the math and have the money to be able to pay these folks when things are tight in those early days?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked that a lot as well. But for me, it was what's my time worth, right? So if I'm putting in an extra 5 hours a day after work to do that, starting earlier on, that could be easily fund a different person where I could be using that energy and that time to continue to build the production, right? So for me, what the first office manager we hired on, they made more than me because I didn't pay myself that much back in the day. And I was trying to keep, income low for tax reasons. But I was scared to hire that person or even put that job posting out there because it seemed like a lot of money. But like I said in the beginning, it shifted my way of thinking of, okay, now we have this person. How do we maximize them? How do I create more sales to
Mhm.
fund them? And it just steamrolls from there. Then it was, okay, project after set up a new crew, and it just keeps going, where I wasn't able to focus on building the business because I was so trapped in it.
Mm.
I couldn't get out. So you have to look at it that way. If your time of doing office work was taken care of, how else could you be productive? What else could you build? Who else could you call? How many more door hangers could you walk out and knock on doors? Or what businesses could you reach out to and get a new contract that could cover that whole salary for the year based off one business? So that's kind of where it shifted, by seeing all that time. And then my production and productivity was focused on building the business a lot more and getting those ideal clients.
You mentioned the office manager, but you also mentioned the marketing. How did that work for you to invest money into marketing? I actually had my bookkeepers on the program recently, and they were sharing shocking observation that they're making as they're looking at people's numbers and books all across America. And they don't share names with me and expose people like that, but just the trend they're noticing, James, is people are not spending money, investing money in marketing, like very minimal. So, how did you figure out I'm going to sow this money into marketing and pay other people and that correlate into boosting your sales and ultimately profits? Explain that whole situation.
Yeah, at first we outsourced a lot of it, right? So we had somebody that was a SEO wizard that helped with the website and SEO. And then we kind of had some people that were helping, with social media. We had an office person in house that was also learning a lot on marketing, and they took over the whole social media and email newsletter side of it. So they grew into that position based off the need and the flow. But now, I mean, back in the day, there wasn't virtual assistants. Like we offer that for different companies too, where for way less than you can hire somebody, they can take care of all your social media. And you just create content and it's posted, it's all set. You don't have to worry about anything. So, but for us, we still they dip into two different categories. So it's not just marketing; they're also working on process creation or helping out with bookkeeping. So there's still other stuff they can do because it's still not a 40-hour, 50-hour a week position. Like they can create everything in a couple hours a day, and then
Mhm.
they're helping out with something else. So we're always looking at what else could they bring value to the table. What else could they assist a different team member in the office? But here's their dedicated time for marketing or bookkeeping or payroll.
That's very interesting. James, I want to hear more about your schedule. What are you doing throughout the day as the owner of this company, as the general manager, essentially of 39 employees and growing? What do you do with your time to continue to build this business? What's most important for James Manske, the owner, to be doing day in and day out?
Yeah, it's always having the vision in the back of the head or the back of the mind. So, is what I'm doing every moment of every day getting me towards the big goals, the big vision, or is it pushing me back? So, is what I'm doing with my time, that's what I'm first thinking about the night before, the morning of, what's on my calendar, even on the weekends. Is it productive stuff I'm doing, or is it unproductive or moving me backwards? So I always have that first. And then going into each day, it's a lot of, discussing with different team members and different departments what's going on, kind of working on the flow, the schedules, dealing with the office, different questions, marketing. So it's a little bit of everything, but having that overall understanding of how it all ties in together is what makes entrepreneurs great. I mean, that's what you have to learn to get to by realizing this email newsletter needs to go out, and that's going to create more services for next month. And then how does that workload go into here? So it's a little bit of visualizing and meeting with every department, every service that we offer, and just making sure that stuff's getting done. And I'll also just help out with a lot of the bigger clients, the bigger commercial, the multi-property customers we have.
Mhm.
So it's always different. Every day is different. I love it. That's why I'm still, so excited about this industry is because it's always changing. Every week's a little different than the previous. And for us in Nebraska, there's different seasons. So from summer to fall, we start going into Christmas lights and then snow, and it's just constantly different.
You mentioned the email newsletter. Are you actually writing that and sending that out, or do you delegate that? And how often do you guys send out a newsletter or email newsletter?
Sure. Yeah. So we have our marketing person in house does that. We just help create content for that upcoming month. So we typically send it out the first day of every month, unless there's a special promo or we're trying to grow a certain division or a product, then we'll send out a separate one. But it's always every single month of here's what's coming up on the schedule. Here's what you need to be aware of. So it's giving information to people too. And so we'll kind of help brainstorm. So like this month, there was Mother's Day. So we're guiding stuff around that or building out, here's perennials that your mom might like, or here's what's coming up on the schedule with this. Make sure you get your sprinklers on because this is the temperatures coming up. So we're just informing, and then there's always a call to action. So we're always looking at what's the next service in the service calendar, and we're promoting that the first of every month.
Okay. You mentioned the word earlier, James, unproductive. What are some examples in your life that you've found or tendencies where you've been unproductive, and how have you overcome that to be more effective and disciplined?
Yeah, it's something that I've learned by being around a lot of people that I want to be where I'm at or where they're at, excuse me. So it's who you're hanging out with, right? So back when I was in my younger college days, it'd be going to the neighborhood bars or doing all the stuff that's unhealthy, right? So that's taking you away because not only are you not surrounding yourself with higher leveled individuals or people that have multi-million or multi-billion dollar companies, but it's also affecting your health for the next day. And then you're going to feel like crap the next morning. So
Mhm.
I did all that, right? Or social media, like endless scrolling,
Mhm.
unless you have a reason to be on social and learn and see what other people are doing. Because once you go down that rabbit hole or Netflix or TV, it's hard to get out of that in 15 or 20 or 30 minutes. Some
And I
people get,
think go ahead.
oh, I was going to say one episode leads to five others and then it's 2 a.m. So
Yeah, I threw my TV away a couple of years ago, so I don't even have that distraction. But I thought when I throw my TV away, this is going to be a game changer. But it really wasn't, because the smartphone, it's like there's Instagram, there's YouTube, there's Facebook, and I think we justify it as entrepreneurs, like you said. Oh well, it's business related. I'm going to check out what who so and so is doing, or what I like Gary Vaynerchuk. What's his marketing strategy? I just kind of emulate what he does, or Dave Ramsey with creating content and stuff. And you think you're on there for business, and then the next thing you know, you're scrolling through and you're seeing, Brian and Rob out there mowing or whatever. I mean, you just get lost in the weeds, no pun intended there. So, what kind of boundaries do you have or whatnot so that you don't get caught in that scrolling cycle, which is extremely unproductive?
yeah, I mean, I've caught myself a couple times too doing it, but it's every time I tend to get on, I either try to create some kind of content or document of, okay, this is what I need to be doing for tomorrow or next week or so. There's always an idea behind it, but typically lately, I've just been packing my schedule with so much
Mhm.
productive stuff to do. So I'd rather go to the gym at 8 p.m. than be on social at 8 p.m.
Okay.
or book a meeting with a client or a mentor for dinner or line up phone calls with people that I want to have phone calls and connect with, if they're top customers, if they're team members, whatever, and have those phone calls go until 8, 9, 10 p.m.
How do you get those doors open with those mentors? I know I saw you hanging out with Grant Cardone and you going out to dinner with some of these folks. How do you get in those restaurants and those situations, and learn from people that you aspire to learn business from?
Yeah, I mean, it all just starts with what you're doing day to day, right? So if you're going to Burger King for dinner versus a nice restaurant, you're going to be surrounded by people that, are affording the nice restaurant and probably have businesses and all that stuff. So that's how you can do it locally is go to the places where they're going,
Mhm.
right? Go to the networking events, go to the Chamber of Commerce events, or seek out whoever that you look up to and just try to do whatever you can do to get in their space. Sometimes it's going to cost money or a lot of money, But once you create that relationship, then it's a give. Like, I'm going to give as much as I can to somebody, and in return, I'm going to learn some knowledge, or I'm going to get some mindset tips, or whatever it is that I'm going to be seeking. I'm going to be open and just ask them, like, hey, what did it take you to go from the first 1 million to 5 million, or what was the hurdle from 10 million to 20 million? So I'm always asking those questions to those people too. Or tell me about your family. Like, how did you incorporate your family in business? And it's just being friends with them and not really asking anything in return, but you create that friendship and that relationship with them that is going to be very beneficial and very productive in the long run, because you're changing your mindset a little bit and you're creating a new friend.
That's really good. Well, James, what would you say to the teenager James Manske, the 19-year-old who's just gung ho about life and ready to take on the world? What are some productivity hacks, productivity tips that you would tell the younger version of yourself who's just getting started as an entrepreneur, now that you've gained some wisdom over the years? What would those productivity tips be to your younger self?
Oh man, there's probably a lot that I would go back and say, don't ever do this again. But I think overall, the biggest thing is just focus on what is getting you to that goal. Like, first, you got to create that big goal or that big vision. And is what you're doing every day or every night or every weekend getting you there, or is it pushing you farther there away from it?
Mm,
Or it's pushing it down, it's punting it down the way. Like, if you were to look back 50 years from now and say, shit, I could have got this done 20 years sooner if I would have just did this, this, and this. So there's time for all that to be fun when you retire, or when you reach that level of success where you can travel wherever or drive wherever or do whatever, buy whatever, if you just do the work now.
mhm.
So just identifying what those key indicators are that are moving you forward in business, in life, in health, in friendships, and try to seek out as many positive people as you can, because I mean, who you surround yourself with is what you are going to become. So
Totally.
the more you surround yourself with successful people or business owners that aren't just 1 year in business, but might have 500 employees, those things I wish I would have done sooner, instead of thinking that my friends were going to be my friends for life, because everybody grows apart. You get families, you move. I mean, everything changes, careers change. So enjoy those moments and those friendships and keep them. But if they're holding you back, or if their family members holding you back, you need to disconnect and do what you need to do, because they're not worried about what your life's going to become. They're worried about their lives. So focus on what you really want. Dedicate the time on working on the business. Delegate some stuff. Hire. The worst thing that happens is you go bankrupt, right? And in the US, it's still not a bad thing. So take extra risk when you're 19, 20, 21. I wish I would have taken massive risks,
Mhm.
and because you never know what would come out of it.
Yeah, totally. Kyle says he hasn't missed one of our live streams because he is scheduled. It's on his calendar. There you go, Kyle. Every Monday, 8 o'clock p.m. Little update on next week, guys. I'm going to the beach, so I'm going to be productive, working on my tan and having a great time. I got a couple nieces that were just born; they're twins, and going to hang out with my family next Monday. So no live stream next Monday, but these are been a lot of fun for me, James, and I've been wanting to live stream for a while. It's intimidating with the technology and everything. So, I think we're getting better each week. I definitely appreciate you guys hanging out with us. If you want to follow us on YouTube, the channel is Green Street Podcast with Paul Jamison. Smash that subscribe button, turn the bell on for notifications. And when I get back from vacation, we'll get back into the swing of things. I want to ask you this, James. You mentioned this while we were off air a little bit about the spring rush, and we're in the smack dab center of the spring rush. Everyone I talk to, it's the same story. I've never been this busy in my life. Demand's off the chains, off the charts. That's a good thing. How do we make sure we're not leaving money on the table, opportunities on the table, and wasting our time on these menial tasks when we should be on these, getting the ranking in the low hanging fruit of the big money?
Yeah, and it's the same with me too, Paul. Like, every single person I'm talking to is the same boat right now. It's spring rush, it's always crazy. But the funny thing is, we all know it's coming every single year, and it seems like it gets busier and busier, crazier, crazier every spring. So I mean, you can only do as much as you can do. So there's no point to get stressed out. I mean, if you over communicate with customers, let them know this is busy time. We'll get to you in 2 weeks or 4 weeks or July or September, whatever it is. But being able to say no is a very powerful thing. So if you're completely booked up right now, your prices aren't high enough.
Say that
Right.
again, James. Say that again.
If you're completely booked and you can't take on any more work or you're pushing people away, your prices aren't high enough.
Our live studio audience like that. You guys like that? He said that if your prices are too low, there you go.
Yeah. So it's key is like you need to find out if you're maxed out on mowing, add another 10 or 20 bucks to your minimum price. People are going to sign up for it and you're going to get them into your route and then realize that they keep coming. And then you need to start bringing out everybody else up to that price every single year or drop the lowest one and replace them with the highest ones. And when we found out to do that and how we were leaving so much money on the table, I mean, your profit goes up exponentially. And people that want your service, they'll pay extra for your service. But if you're not putting that out there, or you're not raising your prices for new people calling in, you don't know what you're missing out on.
That's so good. Well, James, is there anything we're leaving out here? I know productivity is something I'm trying to get better and better and better at. And this was definitely helpful. I took notes here. And one thing is, what is getting you towards the goal? I have my vision board. I have my goals. And I think, each second or minute we need to ask ourselves, what I'm doing right now, is this going to help me achieve that goal? Or is this just a distraction, an unproductive, vanity use of time?
100%. If it's not helping you, it's hurting you. That's the way I look at it. And if it's not helping you, you're going to plateau and you're going to stay exactly where you're at for a lot longer time than you want. And it's going to continue to be stressful. It's going to be continuing to, cause headaches and hardships in your family, your team, and everything, because you want to elevate everybody in your organization. If you've got one person or nobody in your company, I mean, you need to start bringing winners with you and doing and working on stuff to build the company. You're going to all elevate at the same time. So you have to focus on that.
Can you give us an example? Because I've been struggling with delegating and outsourcing, and I've been meeting with folks in the Philippines, and I've been California, New York. I mean, I've been all over the world getting virtual assistants, building out a team, and I've been having some good ones, and I've been swinging and missing. Can you give us a story of maybe when you made a mistake and you hired somebody in trying to delegate, and you swung and missed, you whiffed, and what'd you learn from that?
For sure. Everybody's heard of Fiverr, and I'm sure there's some great examples on Fiverr, but they're just a one and done type of service. So it's not ongoing. And you need to find somebody that is managing that team of virtual assistants. You have to find that company. And there's companies out there, and we offer that as well, that you get a team of people helping with bookkeeping or social or newsletters or payroll and whatever else that you need. But you have to have a company that's already in place that knows how to do the work, can fix it or edit it or change it or mimic it into different parts of the company. But like I said, none of that was really around when I was growing up. So I wish that tech would have been there earlier on to do the weekly Zooms or the daily WhatsApp with those people and just get across what you need done to take stuff off of your plate.
Yeah, I just did something on Upwork. I've used Fiverr, I don't know, 20, 25 times for various one and done projects. And I tried somebody on Upwork. Keith Kalf was like, yeah, try Upwork or something like that. I think that's who I heard it from. James, I hired this guy on Upwork. I paid, I think it was $40. I paid him. I sent him the description, everything I need done. And the deadline came and gone, never got it. And then 24 hours came and gone, never got it. 2 days came and gone, never got it. Finally, I had to email Upwork and let them know, hey, the guy never even responded to any of my messages. And he obviously didn't do what I asked him to do. So I guess they have something called escrow, and they're going to give me my $40 back. They haven't given it back to me yet, but so I have a sour experience. Like, okay, I'm going to delegate this task that I should be not doing this. I need to be on those, income producing activities and building this team. And so I tried, and that's why it's like, man, I'm like, I really got to find the right people. But I have had a little bit of success on Fiverr. But again, that micromanager in me, it's so difficult to let go and try these people to do the task that I've been doing. So to see you have 39 employees and branch out like this is definitely encouraging me to try to find the right people.
Sure. Yeah. And at 47, I don't want to correct you, but
Oh,
47.
47. Why do I keep saying 39?
It's all good.
Oh
But
man. Excuse me, James.
but I mean,
Oh.
it goes down to asking for references. If there is a virtual assistant company that manages them, I mean, who else can talk about their experience with them, right? So with our team, I mean, we've got some all overseas too. And what we're helping other companies with, I mean, they can't hire somebody in town for that much. So they're
Mhm.
doing just as much work for a fraction of the cost and helping throughout the day with all the team members on that marketing team or bookkeeping CPA team. And it's constant flow. Like you don't just have to talk to them once. You can go back and forth and edit and create and produce things that are going to help you. And I think that's what's key. It's you have a dedicated team or individual that is back and forth. It's like they are an employee in your company at your hometown.
Well, James, this has been very, very helpful, man. Is there anything else we're leaving out?
You know, overall, we've touched on a lot of great things. It's it's interesting just to take a piece of paper out and just document what your regular day looks like, right? What are you spending your day on from the moment you wake up to the moment you go to bed? And you're going to see a lot of flow killers, as I like to call them. Just
Wow,
they're
that's
killing
good.
your flow
Wow.
of being productive. And then you can identify them and what else could you replace that with? Or just get rid of it altogether. Like, is this helping me or hurting me? And just jot them all down, see what's actually moving you towards your goals versus pulling you back down to mediocrity.
Flow killer. Flow, flow killers. That's good. Man, I got to get it together, James.
There's always ways to improve. I mean, it's never going to end because there's always going to be stuff that you can improve on when you start growing and where can you delegate, where can you be more productive, but you always have to have that in the back of your mind.
We got a question for you. Um, James, do you use H2Bs?
Yeah, so we last year was our first year getting H2B temporary work visas from South America, Central America. It's a great program if you get drawn because it's a lottery system. So there's group A, B, C, and D. So last year we were group A randomly. There's no amount of money you can pay to be bumped up or deadlines to hit. It's a lottery system. So last year we were group A. We got some temporary work visas. This year we were D. We're still waiting on a number to give to people to come up to work with us. So it's tough to rely on those programs until something better gets done. Um, but I know a lot of companies, and one in your town too, Paul, that brings in over 100 H2B workers a year.
Wow.
So it
What
works
company
really
is that?
well. I can't remember. I
Okay.
came down and met with them maybe like 6, 7 years ago,
Okay.
but they use it all the time because they can do it all year round. We have a short window of, May or March through November. And then after that, it's snow. We don't do as much and we can handle it in house. So we really need those deadlines of dates. In southern states, they can rotate. They can do
Oh yeah.
9 months of this group, 9 months of this group. So it's constantly coming in from those H2B workers.
Totally. All right. Well, is this a good ending spot, or you have anything else you want to answer this last question, or you got to go?
No, the risk and cost, you need to go through and find a lawyer that is experienced with H2B process. I think for us, it was $7,500 to get it started. And then for every 10 people that you bring in is $2,500. So you get 7, it's 2,500. It's 10, it's 2,500. If it's 19, it's 5,000. So it's something just to look for those people in your area. I know there's a ton of ads in the magazines, but look for somebody local that you can meet with, you can see face to face, ask those questions, get them answered, and just go back and forth with. Those are going to be the best options.
Great. Well, thanks for joining the show, Andrew. Alan in Lawrenceville, thanks for hanging out with us. Kyle up in New York. James, this has been really helpful, man. The flow killers, I need to identify those and stick to my goals. I have my goals written down. I've added to my mirror since the last time we talked.
Awesome.
Not a Sharpie. I got the dry erase marker, and so I'm trying to get better. And this has been very helpful for me. So I appreciate you sharing your expertise. And I learned now you have 47 employees. So forgive me for saying 39.
No worries. Next week it might change. We'll see.
Yeah,
Might cross that 50 next week.
All right. Well, that's great. Now next week, guys, I'm going to the beach
for 2 weeks.
Yeah. So we'll touch base back the week after. What, you have an event, Mr. Producer's telling me you got an event coming up or something like that?
Yeah, June 4th here in Omaha.
Okay.
We're bringing together a group of people for kind of everything we've been talking about, Paul, and then some. We're going to have some great speakers, it's going to be business related. So if you're looking to scale the business, learn more about sales, marketing, financials, everything about the business is scaling so you don't have to be an owner operator. Mm-hmm. We're going to be touching on all of that. And it's priced very, very well because I want everybody to just get information. And it's going to be at an amazing venue, a massive, massive building with a rooftop balcony for happy hour afterwards. And it's just going to be a great environment. But the networking is going to be amazing too.
And how can people learn more?
So you can go to my website, jamesmanske.com, or on social media, James Manske. And there is still some seats and tickets available, but it's a small group. I don't want this to be a big event. It's going to be intimate. It's going to be more of a boot camp type feel to it, where you're going to get your questions answered. We're going to bring up some professionals of how to build into different divisions and how that can help your company. So there's going to be a lot of great information on what I've done, and people that have helped me along the way with great partnerships, and vendors are going to be speaking as well of how to do that in your business.
Great. You guys can find out more at jamesmanske.com. And I'm working on adding all your stuff to my website soon, James. We've been updating on our resource center. Right now it's under construction. So bear with me, but we'll sync up. So in the future, you guys could go to our website to find out what James got going on. But just, oh man, talk about delegation, man. That was one of my things today I was trying to fix. But for the temporary, just go to jamesmanske.com and you guys can get the information for this event in Nebraska.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, James. Yeah, don't forget, next Monday I'll be at the beach, but then we'll pick things back up the next Monday if that works with you.
Perfect. I'll be here.
Well, thanks for your time.
Thank you, Paul.